Welcome to the future of music creation. Soundtrap. Elevate your
Filing
sound
your
with
tax return is different on Free Tax U.
Hey yo, Trilly, punch me in. They see me in, I won over losing, but I was just prepping myself for the win. She brought a friend, beat up the pussy, then I go and cop it and hop in the band. She love my music, but say it's confusing, I ran it up from the start to the end. But you just a fan, why I'ma tell you the ins and outs, how I ran it on bands. I need that bag today, so I ain't got time to be tripping or writing no love song, yeah. Writing no love song, we all experience love loss, yeah. Niggas be hating, so they got me cruising around with a stick. Cool as a bitch, you know I ain't never gonna lose again, I'm running this shit. Like, hey Jay, that's my name, little bro, nigga from down LA. About 6'1" with a low top fade, niggas knew that you was gonna get to that cake. Hey bitch, say my name, too dope, cool nigga, ain't shit changed. Bad that bitch, shorty screaming my name, and the phone sped off with a brand new chain. Now a nigga know that he fine, when a nigga pop out of design. Ain't the boot cooking up any Honda, if the bitch wanna fuck, gotta find her. So say you want smoke, but he lying, if he wanted that, he would come find us. Niggas know we ain't doing no hiding, when we pushing out here, come the sirens. 33 bags with some brand new Givenchy, I just put that bitch in a drop top. Up in the kitchen, ain't cooking no Winnie, but shawty said she want a hot box. I ate it once and I'm going in the jiffy, cause her ugly friend wanna cut glide. No, I can't fuck with that thought, nah. JB pop out with that glide. They see me in, I won over losing, but I was just prepping myself for the win. She brought a friend, beat up the pussy, then I go and cop it and hop in the band. She love my music, but say it's confusing, I ran it up from the start to the end. But you just a fan, why I'ma tell you the ins and outs, how I ran it on bands. I need that bag today, so I ain't got time to be tripping or writing no love song, yeah. Writing no love song, we all experience love loss, yeah. Niggas be hating, so they got me cruising around with a stick. Cool as a bitch, you know I ain't never gonna lose again, I'm running this shit. She got some back and she carrying, only keep for a week, I ain't marrying. If you shoot it at me, then I'm parrying. Hey yo nigga, you weak, you jarring. Sipping on you for some weeks, tryna marry you. How the pussy ain't wet, you Aquarius. I be gone for a week, I get back, we can leave. Say it likely to blow, it's precarious. AP, bust, drip, water when I step at the house. Big ballin', put a dick in the mouth. TTG, my niggas hand shit out. She ain't my little secret. In the pussy, I'ma stretch a bitch out. In my phone, probably stressing her out. My baby niggas know we bout. She want the money, the power, the glory. She think I'm in love, but I'm fucking a friend. Don't have no friends, but I got some brothers that I know is rocking with me to the end. All of my partners into with each other, and none of them stressing about many bands. She got a man, but shawty a freaking and shit, so I don't give a fuck about a man. They see me in, I won over losing, but I was just prepping myself for the win. She brought a friend, beat up the pussy, then I go and cop it and hop in the band. She love my music, but say it's confusing, I ran it up from the start to the end. But you just a fan, why I'ma tell you the ins and outs, how I ran it on bands. I need that bag today, so I ain't got time to be tripping or writing no love song, yeah. Writing no love song, we all experience love loss, yeah. Niggas be hating, so they got me cruising around with a stick. Cool as a bitch, you know I ain't never gonna lose again, I'm running this shit.
I gotta get me a bag, steady type of cash on my bro and that same shit. No, it don't fuck on no lame bitch, can't even fuck on the same shit. I heard your shit in the swag, that shit is so sad, put in work at that basement. I charge you double that payment, lil' boy I'm not one you can play with. I grew up in Brooklyn, left right I keep looking. If the ops come then we get to bucking. So sad that my youngest stay shook. Get a bag, we don't play with a book. Made a slab, now they all wanna hug. If you ask, yeah, I do the dash, yeah. Got money bags, yeah. For the ones that they took, I know that I'm good, yeah. Straight face and I look. They say that budget is in my outlook, yeah. Hot mail, we gon' post bail when that ship sail, oh yeah. I pop tax, that's my swag, don't get mad, go there. They wanna know how we came up out that basement, we was damn stuck. I was down bad on my ass, I had no job, I was fucked up, yeah. Now I get to sit back and laugh while you haters are mad and you counting your pay stubs. I do this all on my own, right after wake up I go get my cake up. I gotta get me a bag, steady type of cash on my bro and that same shit. No, it don't fuck on no lame bitch, can't even fuck on the same shit. I heard your shit in the swag, that shit is so sad, put in work at that basement. I charge you double that payment, lil' boy I'm not one you can play with. Watch out, everyone come for that ride out, yeah. Say watch out, we came at that dog pound.
Hey you guys, nice to see everybody here. Good evening. Hey, it's RicoKnows. Sorry you guys, it's been a couple days. I had to get ready for the big reveal, and the big reveal is we're back on YouTube. Shout out to all my followers, MVPs, and everybody who supports the channel on YouTube. It's one of those things that I can't do without, so it is a necessary evil. I will be pushing myself. I've decided that I'm going to give monologues, one take, maybe 5-minute videos, deep dive into a particular subject that I normally don't do on TikTok. None of the videos on YouTube will be the same as the videos on TikTok, period. Now, if you're an MVP on Patreon, the videos will be the same on Patreon as they are on YouTube. I'm actually going to record the video once and then post it on both sites. That's for my MVP. So the gambling things of that nature, it's all there. You guys can't see it on the screen right now because I don't have it pulled up, but there is an MVP playlist on YouTube. And if you want to go that route, you can. I've already fixed it. You can now have access to the Discord server if you're on YouTube. I would much prefer you guys stay MVPs on Patreon. I'm just going to be discreet. I'm going to be transparent. There's no reason to be discreet. I'm going to be transparent. Patreon pays me more. Straight up. Each MVP, you guys pay $25 a month. Thank you for supporting the channel. YouTube takes $7.50, 30%. It's an absurd price to take from me. It's the nature of the beast. When you go to Patreon, Patreon takes $2.50 per person. How about that reasonable take right there? How about that reasonable rate they take? Unfortunately, we have to overcome legalities and everything else. I don't own my own website. I don't own my own processor. And I like it that way because I don't want to have to keep track of when you paid, if you paid. I got people begging me for different credit card information and all kinds of stuff. I don't want to deal with any of that nonsense. I just want to talk sports, y'all. I just want to talk football. And today we're talking transfer portal like we do every day. And we're talking the running back position. If you don't know, this is running back episode 3. And that's because there are 2 other episodes. And we're probably going to end up somewhere in another position group, right? Like we're going to end up with more videos of other position groups because there aren't that many running backs in the transfer portal. There's like 100. But in comparison, there are far more offensive linemen and wide receivers in the transfer portal than there are running backs or quarterbacks. You just don't carry that many on your roster, right? You just don't have that many on scholarship. But there are a ton to talk about today. There's still many left over. There might be 4 or 5 episodes of running backs when we're done. But we're going to address every single one of them. And we've addressed a ton. So if you hear me say, hey, I already talked about that guy in a previous episode, just go watch the other episodes. There's other episodes. They're all in order by rank. Rank according to 24/7, and I'll show you that here shortly. You guys know the format of the show. You go and you put your questions in. If you're watching me on TikTok, I don't see your questions. You have to put it on YouTube because that's where it holds all the comments. I invited everybody from Twitter, everybody from the Discord, from Patreon. So they'll all be here eventually, but right now we have no one watching, and that's okay. It bothers me none. It's a late night. I'm home alone. Shout out to the wonderful Kim Jones. She's driving home right now, coming back from Virginia. Next to me is my puppy, so if she does bark at some point, somebody's near the perimeter. But let's get focused on this list of running backs, and we'll start having a show. And if you guys got any questions, I'll answer them. We'll see what happens here. So, without further ado, here's the list. Here's the show. You guys know how it works. I don't believe in this rank at all. I don't believe in the rank order they're in. I don't agree even a little bit with 24/7 Sports, but they have the pictures, and it's a really easy format for me to show you who the players are, and that's the only reason I use the website. I don't vouch for them or condone anything they're saying or doing. Trust me. You see this list, this scrolling bar? You see that scrolling bar at the top of the screen? Anytime I'm talking, you're going to see the scrolling bar anywhere. The marquee that's going, I got news for you guys. Those are the top running backs in the transfer portal, according to me, not according to 24/7 Sports. So I just want to be very clear on that. With that being said, I've talked about a lot of these players. I have it sorted right now by who's enrolled at school, already in school. So I'm looking at my chart here in front of me from the players that I've already talked about. Raheem Rocket Sanders, episode 1. So if you don't hear me talk about him tonight, unless you have a question about it, I'm going to skip him, and I'm going to go straight to Roydell Williams. So who's Roydell Williams? He was the second leading rusher at Alabama this past season. He was a good running back, and he is a good running back, and he's from Alabama, and when you go watch the tape on this kid, I promise you it's interesting. He's playing free safety, he's playing running back, he's all-state running back, but I swear there are times he's at defensive end. and he can just play football. He's 5'10", 215. He looks advanced for his size and age. Now, he's been at Alabama for a while. Never really looked that explosive or that dynamite like the normal running backs for Alabama. He didn't look that dominant. So it was time for him to go. And when I say that, it's only because when you start looking at the depth chart, Justice Haynes was really pushing him. Jam Miller pushing him. These guys are out there taking reps from a guy who's probably got seniority, who was probably teaching them how to do the drills and work out at practice, and then all of a sudden they took it. And they said, nah, bruh, this is a merit-based business, and we're better than you. So he starts losing his grip on the room, and that's okay. He still rushed for over 500 yards. Still had, 5 touchdowns. But you saw a guy who needed a new surrounding and a new beginning. And it's crazy because he doesn't know anyone on the Florida State coaching staff. They have no previous relationship. They don't know each other like that. So there's David Johnson. His name is Yak. Everybody calls him Yak. Coach Yak, David Johnson, the running backs coach, been around for a long time. He just has a gift, and he forged a relationship with this young man. This young man decides, you know what, I played 45 games at Alabama. I'm going to go to Florida State. But I don't necessarily know how much better he is than Lawrence Tafili. Keziah Holmes. He's better than Keziah Holmes. Keziah Holmes was the kid who went up to Penn State, didn't work out, came back home, sat out a year, whatever. Cam Davis, Sam Singleton. These guys are on the depth chart. I guess he's the number 2 running back. Definitely not the starter. Number 2 going in. But you should have heard the quote. I read a quote by Williams earlier today, and he said, the only place to go is up. And I thought, what the hell is he talking about? What do you mean the only place to go is up? Florida State was just undefeated until they weren't. But they were undefeated in the regular season. They won the ACC. What do you mean the only place to go is up? Like they're at the bottom of something. That is not the only place to go. That is not the only place to go. You just lost an immense amount of NFL talent, probably equivalent to the NFL talent that TCU lost when they were in the national title game. There's just no way you think Florida State's going to go up. There's no place to go but up. I thought that was absurd. I don't know what these kids are doing. I don't know who's feeding them this nonsense. But there's nowhere else to go but down. You have no other choice. Unless you plan for them to go undefeated again in the regular season, holy smokes. More power to you. But I just thought that was kind of unique. So that's Roydell Williams there. He'll be at Florida State. He'll be in the running backs room with everybody else. Another guy in that running back room is Jalen Lucas, currently enrolled. Now, Jalen Lucas leaving Indiana, going to Florida State really perplexes me. He's not a Florida State caliber recruit. His brother is, right? Ja'Kai Douglas is his brother. He was a running back as well. They're both from Louisiana. They got them dogs in Louisiana. His brother gets moved to slot receiver, to running back, to special teams. Just a guy who can contribute everywhere, but he's not a dominant running back by any means. They had so many other players. His brother's just a guy that kind of rotates around, and he wanted to play with his brother. That was paramount. That was more important than anything is, I want to go play with my brother. And he knows other guys on the team because he used to play 7-on-7 with some of them. They've known each other for a while. But this is a kid coming out of high school. He had offers from UMass, Tulane, and FAU. Ended up going to Indiana. I don't see him as a Florida State guy. I do see him potentially returning kicks, kickoffs, and punt returns. Sure. He's a special teamer. He's 5'9", 175, little dude, little gadget guy. I went back and watched some of his high school tape. Obviously, I've seen him play at Indiana. 10-6, 100 meters wind aided. I don't care what kind of wind you got. That's fast. That's fast. You put a damn hurricane behind me. I'm not running 10-6. Right? Some of these guys are 11-1s, claiming they're 10. You ever seen that? The guys who claim they're fast, and then you get on AccuTrack, and they're like, man, I ran a 12-1. Yeah, not this young man. Jalen Lucas is fast. I just don't understand why you would transfer from Indiana, outside of being closer to family, being closer to home. I think Jalen Lucas is a South Alabama, ULM, Louisiana Raging Cajun caliber transfer, not Florida State. I think Jalen Lucas is going to finish with less than 200 yards. Less than 200 yards on the season. That's how I feel about Jalen Lucas. I think he's a good player, just not at Florida State. They're deep. They got other players. They don't need them. Elijah Green, speaking of deep and don't need him, you see it here, guys. You see it here on the screen. 3+ players all transferring to Indiana's running back room. Yeah, I'm not mad at Indiana. Go do your thing. Kurt Zignetti, former JMU head coach, go do your thing. Get as many players as you can. Stack that room. Do everything you can to improve your final 85. Improve your 85, bro. And when I'm saying 85, I'm referring to the 85 scholarship players on that team. Do your damn thing. But to these young men, what are you doing? Why are you all going to Indiana in a room? They've got 4 transfer running backs. You see it there, Tyson Lawton down here. There's 4. They're bringing in 4. Trent Hallen's still there, the leading rusher. He was going to go to Minnesota, got in the transfer portal. He came back, said, never mind, I'm not going over there. They got 4 guys going in over there. I'll just stay where I'm at. Their second leading rusher, Josh Anderson, coming back. So Indiana's top 2 rushers are coming back, and they don't care. They're bringing in their top 2 running backs from JMU, right? They're bringing in Kaleon Black. They're bringing in Tyson Lawton. These are running backs from JMU. They're going to be favorites of John Miller. John Miller's the Indiana running backs head coach or running backs coach. He's going to have to figure something out. Let me tell you guys something. Somebody's jumping in that transfer portal come spring. I'm sure they're all there for spring ball, and they're all trying to prove they belong. Somebody's jumping in that transfer portal come spring. There's too many running backs. I count 6 guys who all want to be starters. We're talking about guys who are rushing for 500 yards a season. Okay, so Elijah Green here, in 4 years at North Carolina, he played in 14 games. I'm sorry. In 4 years at North Carolina, he didn't really ever once become the starting running back. 2022 is when he got his chance. He played in 14 games. 558 yards, 8 touchdowns. He was that power back, that guy they needed. He's 5'11", 210 pounds. You know how many power backs they have at Indiana right now? I count 4 of them, bro. I count 4, and I'm looking at him, and I'm going, what are you doing? You couldn't beat out Omarion Hampton. We're talking about a team at North Carolina where the leading rusher was Drake May in 2022. Elijah Green, you're not built like this, bro. Shout out to him, by the way. Shout out to his father, Victor Green, played 12 seasons in the NFL. He's defensive back, went to Akron. I know the whole deal. This young man, I actually watched him play in high school here in Georgia. He played at Blessed Trinity. It's a great school. That's exactly where Justice Haynes came from before he transferred to Buford. I can tell you the origin of Blessed Trinity running back rooms, and it'll blow your mind. They got better running back rooms than Georgia Tech sometimes. But what are we doing? Now you're all going to Indiana, piling up. Coaches can only play 2-3 guys max. This isn't Charlotte. By the way, I'm going to talk about Charlotte at the end of the show, and you guys are going to be blown away at the crap that Charlotte has done. I'm telling you, Charlotte's insane. Ruining kids' whole careers. Next guy, and you saw me skip all these guys. I should have been clear. All these guys were covered in previous episodes. So if you're curious, well, what does he think about these guys? Raheem Sanders, episode 1. Chip Trainum, episode 1. Oscar Attaway, 1. Anthony Woods, episode 2. Just talked about Jalen Lucas. Keon Black, episode 2. Elijah Green, just talked about him. Justin Ellison, episode 1. Jawarn Howell, great running back, by the way, young kid. He was in episode 2, and now we're at E.J. Smith. By the way, the last 3 dudes, all episode 2, if you want to learn about them. Tyson Lawton, Dominique Thomas, and C.J. Beasley. But E.J. Smith, this is Emmitt Smith's son. Shout out to E.J., Emmitt Smith's son. Coming out of high school, he had to make a choice. Do I want to go to Texas A&M? Do I want to go to Stanford? He chose Stanford. You want to go out there and duplicate Toby Gerhart, Bryce Love, some of those Christian McCaffrey, those great Stanford running backs, and you thought he's going to go out there and do the damn thing. And he's been injury prone ever since he got there. It's unfortunate. He got injury prone. It didn't work out. But this is Emmitt Smith's son. He's a good locker room kid. He can win you over in the locker room. And when he's gotten his opportunities to play, he's great. It's just injury-prone nonsense. So if you go back to 2022, I went back to watch film on him in 2022. He's playing against Colgate in the season opener. 100 yards. Looks great. Then the next game, it's USC. And I thought he was dominant. 19 carries, 88 yards. He's in the game with USC. And he gets injured for the whole season. And it's unfortunate. So he has yet to have a season over 200 30 yards. I think never more than 220 yards. It's just he's never been that bell cow workhorse. And it's kind of funny. Now he's going back home. He's going back to A&M. His sister goes to A&M. But he does have fumble problems. I'm going to tell you guys this now. He's not his father. I watched him run. And in 2 games that I watched film on him today, in my limited time to watch film on him, 2 games, 3 fumbles. Lost them all. 3 fumbles, lost them all in 2 games. I watched the running back today on tape. I'm going to talk about him later. He's got over 500 carries in his career, and he's never fumbled. I turned on 2 games from E.J. Smith, and he fumbled 3 times in those 2 games. I don't like it. Welcome to A&M. You're going to be a coach someday. I don't see this being an impact transfer. Doesn't move me at all. Where a guy like Dominic Thomas is a huge transfer for Georgia State, a big improvement. C.J. Beasley will probably get playing time there as well. They rank these guys really low, but I think they're more impactful than E.J. Smith. I can tell you that right now. That's how I feel about it. So let's go. I got to change the chart to committed players. So bear with me because committed players are going to come up. Bear with me, and then I'll go to the chat. Committed. We're by position. We're sitting here and we're looking pretty. Let me go to the chat real quick and then we'll see where we go from there. Give me a second. So chat, shout out to Joker. Joker says, hey Rico, how good do you think how good Bama is going to be? Well, Joker, I don't want to tell you how many games I think they're going to win because that's actually MVP data that I've given to the MVPs on both Patreon and YouTube. Shout out to them because that is a betting proposition, right? There's bets out there. They're called futures bets, and you have to try to guess how many games teams are going to win. I'm just going to tell you that I don't see Alabama being as dominant as you're used to seeing them. They had a lot of departures. They had 7 departures in the wide receivers, in the defensive backs, and then 8 wide receivers departed. They had 5 guys leave early for the NFL draft, all marquee players, very impactful guys. And obviously, they lost the greatest coach of all time. So if you think that there's no drop-off at Alabama, you got to ask yourself, well, then how great was Nick Saban? Because I think Nick Saban's great. And I think if you lose the greatest coach of all time, there's going to be drop-off. There has to be. If there isn't, then was he really that impactful? Then was he really the greatest coach of all time? Or maybe he's just a product of his great players, and he wasn't that great. What is it? You tell me. I think Alabama's probably going to win less games than they're used to winning. Let me just put it like that. Okay? Still a good product. I love their coaching staff. I love what these guys that they brought in. As a collective whole, they look great. They're not Nick Saban. Just, there's no way to debate that. David in Arizona, good to see you, brother. Shout out to your badge, man. I like that. Look at that dude. That man looks great. He says, good evening, Rico. This is a big pause. Thank you that you are back. Thank you so much, David. It feels good to be back. I was a little depressed initially just because there was so much work to do. Sometimes you guys ever done that before? Let me ask you guys something. Serious question. You ever been working on something and then it doesn't save and you get to it and you're like, what the hell, bro? I got to start all over? This happens in the world of video games all the time, or at least it used to. This happens at work a lot, I think. We're not talking about setting up dominoes and one of them falls and then the rest fall. We're talking about building something, creating something, and showing up and it's not there anymore, right? The house of cards has collapsed. I don't want to start over. And for me, I've had this happen a few times in my life where you have to hit reset and start over. Now, I've always had a good job. I've always been able to bounce back. I've always been resilient and had the work ethic and grind and willingness to try again. But my goodness, is this testing me, bruh. The last 48 hours has been a lonely 48 hours of just mind-numbingly grinding out how to reset back up like my configurations and getting my show ready. It now takes me a good 30 minutes to prep and post things on different websites and then get this chat box to show up here in the show, get the animations right, the background, the scrolling bar. Everything is just a one-man thing. I don't have a producer. I don't have a graphics guy or an audio guy. I'm doing everything myself. And if you ever watch me on TikTok Live, I'm sitting there watching tutorials and trying to learn and teach myself the profession of streaming, podcasting, content creation. It's all face-first learning, and I'm doing the best I can. So I need everybody to understand that. It's difficult, man. And sometimes it weighs on you. You're a normal person. I want to push away and go have a nice dinner or just stuff my face in a cheeseburger, but I haven't left the house in days. I just went outside for the first time to put my trash can by the street. My dog got extremely excited and ran out there with me. She hadn't been running outside with me for a while now, but the minute she saw that front door open, she's like, oh my God, we're going somewhere? Because Dad's been in here grinding? It's the reality of life, bro. But thank you for being here, David. It's nice to know that some people have just been waiting patiently and they haven't faded away. And then there's a lot of people that aren't there. I'm telling you that right now. There's a lot of people not around anymore. The fickle fans, I don't rock with them either. I never liked them anyways. I'm being real. What up, D-Sup? D-Sup says, what kind of impact do you think Jonah Coleman will have? So I'm going to talk about him in the show in a little bit. Jonah Coleman's coming up. It's ridiculous that he's below certain people, but Jonah Coleman's a hell of a running back. Just transferred from Arizona to Washington. I will talk about him then. I want you to know that I think very highly of Jonah Coleman. What kind of impact will he have? Well, let me just say this. If Washington didn't have him, they'd be in a world of hurt. The fact that they do have him, they're still in a world of hurt. He can't block for himself, right? That offensive line looks very problematic right now, and I don't see any help in the transfer portal, meaning you're going to have to develop some very young linemen at Washington. Not saying they don't have them, because that cupboard's not bare at Washington. That was a great team with some good pedigree, good recruiting classes. They got some piled up talent out there. Remember, Seville Smalls went to Washington and couldn't see the field. He was third string, fourth string, couldn't see the field. Something to think about, because that's a former five-star kid. He's obviously at Colorado, still sitting the bench, but the point is there was depth at these positions. So we'll see what Jonah Coleman can do. Love the kid. Think he's a great player. My bad. What up, Joker? I'm surprised they didn't get more Washington transfers, but how do you like the Jed Fish hire? Well, you're not going to take every kid out of Washington to go to Alabama. Oftentimes, when players choose their university, one of the factors is location. One of the factors is proximity to family. You can't just assume my head coach got hired at Alabama, we're all rolling out. That's not how it works. There's some people who want to stay home. You are recruiting the Pacific Islanders, the Samoans for your linemen, from California, from Hawaii, from any of the islands. That's what you're recruiting on the West Coast. You're getting all the Washington kids, the best ones in the state, to stay in state. The leftovers go to Washington State and then Fresno State, and Boise. But there's no way you're going to convince a large Samoan community to go over to Alabama. I know, Rico, but they got Tua. Yeah, you keep naming the one-offs. Not the vast majority. It's going to be different. And they'll have to figure that out. But yeah, not a whole lot of players are leaving. And Jed Fish is a good hire. He's a good hire. I still look at Jed Fish and think he's the product of good recruiting, as every coach should be, if you're good. But I haven't seen him develop anyone and make them great. I just see him getting a lot of good players. So good for him. Hope he brought the right coaches with him. Let me just say that. Rico, have you talked about DBs Penn State got in the portal? If you want to talk defensive backs, I talk about defensive backs on the Defensive Back podcast. This is Runningbacks tonight. I've done 2 episodes on defensive backs. I'd imagine I've covered the Penn State defensive backs that have been covered in the portal. You'd have to go back and watch the show and find out. There's 2 episodes of defensive backs. Go watch them. You'll learn all you can. What do you personally look for in a running back as far as ranking the position? Just curious, because the recent question of the value of the position. Shout out from Mississippi, Big 662. Shout out to you, Vibes. So I look at running back a little different from the NFL, and I want people to understand the value of the running back position has only been changed because of the NFL salary cap. People still need running backs. People still want them. People still desire them. You just don't have to draft them at the beginning of the draft. You just don't have to pay them the same amount you do these other positions. That's all it is. It's still a good player on the football field. They're still very good players. So when I evaluate them, I'm looking for a playmaker, a difference maker. Somebody you can give the ball to 20 to 30 times a game. I'm looking for marquee backs, or are you a running back by committee? Do you have a specified skill set? It's no different, though. I don't have a salary cap. I want as many good running backs as I can, and I want marquee running backs. NFL's a lot different. And that's why I don't try to apply NFL economics to college football. Doesn't work. Doesn't matter. You know, in college, depth is everything. In the NFL, you just need to get that all-pro guy to stick around on your team for 10 years. Longevity is everything. That's just the whole different thing there. You need to find an all-pro and get them to stay in your uniform for as long as possible. Find Hall of Famers, stay in your uniform as long as possible. College football, good luck. Find an All-American. He's only around for a year or two. And you got to figure it out from there again. You need to find all-star coaches and position coaches and development programs, strength and conditioning programs, a scheme that's ever-changing and keeps up, stays ahead of the curve. So many other components to it. Thanks, Rico. Just trying to learn more. I didn't start paying real attention to college football at a deeper level than just the games until this year. Oh, then Joker, you're going to have a long offseason, bro. You're going to have a long offseason. All right, let me get back to the list here. We're going to look at running backs that are committed and going to schools, and who have I talked about, who haven't I talked about. So the first running back I have not talked about, which is pretty crazy, but I have not talked about Quinshon Judkins. What I want to say is, first and foremost, shame on any recruiting website who did not make him a 5-star transfer. This is a 5. If there's ever going to be a 5-star transfer, it's Quinshon Judkins. This is a young man who rushed for over 1,500 yards in the SEC, 16 touchdowns. And in a down year, what you call a down year, 15 touchdowns. I say the nerve of these guys to try to tell me there's any better transfer. I've seen the list. Julian Sane and all these 5-star transfers, these freshmen who've never played football. Oh, but we projected them to be great. You know who you missed on? The 3-star kid out of Pike Road, Alabama, who went out there and dominated the SEC, who pushed Zach Evans to the bench, pushed Bentley to the bench, Ulysses Bentley IV to the bench. This is a guy who just showed up in a room full of dogs and said, I'm going to eat. Quinshon Judkins is the best player in the SEC. And he has been for 2 years. I know other people won Heismans. There's nothing a running back can do to win the Heisman. Go study that. No matter who you are, you're not finishing in the top 5. Not anymore. Not anymore. Don't care who it is. Nation's leading rusher? Nope, not happening. We talked about this in our futures bet video. I had a guy ask me about Ollie Gordon. I just laughed. Dude's going to finish 7th in the voting. It's quarterback position. This is the best player in the SEC. Turn on the tape. Quinshon Judkins is a beast. Transfers to Ohio State. Gives them a 1-2 punch, but I think he's the 1, not the 2. I'm sure they like Travion Henderson a lot. I watched the tape. Quinshon Judkins is an NFL running back dressing up as a college football player. He's playing dress up, bro. He's an imposter. Straight up. I already talked about Etienne in episode 2. Talked about Waters in episode 2. And then we're at Penny Boone. Now, Penny Boone, quite the opposite. Penny Boone, I love what he does. He's a power back. Running at Toledo this year, 1,400 yards. But I hate one-year production guys that get anointed. And for me, I saw Penny Boone have a lot of bad seasons. At Maryland, couldn't break the rotation, couldn't get in the lineup. Gets to Toledo, 443 yards as a backup running back. And then this year goes absolutely ham. So how do you average 3.8 yards a carry as 2 years ago, and then now you're at 7.2? What happened? Coach started believing in you? No. But he's a good running back. He's not Marcus Carroll. Let me just say that right now. He's not Marcus Carroll. They have him ranked there, and they have Marcus Carroll behind Penny Boone. Turn on the tape. I love Penny Boone, though. I think he's a good running back. 1,400 yards and less than 200 carries is insane. 15 touchdowns. Solid. And Louisville needs a running back. Jahar Jordan declares for the NFL draft. Isaac Garindo, the Wisconsin transfer, declares for the NFL draft. Both of them had great seasons. So now you're looking like, what do we do? Let me tell you what you do, though. You bring in Penny Boone. You bring in Chaney from Miami. By the way, Miami, remember when they lost that game against Georgia Tech because Cristobal didn't take a knee at the end of the game and he called a run play? Chaney's the one who fumbled that ball, just so we're clear. So Chaney's coming in. So you bring in 2 running backs to take over the running back room. I think that's going to piss off a lot of running backs because there's a lot of underclassmen running backs at Louisville that are pretty decent. Go turn on the tape. Maurice Turner is probably the best running back not in the 2 deep. Maurice Turner is a good player, and I think he hits the portal. Him or Kewan Brown, they're going to figure it out because you got these young guys on the team believing in the coach, believing in the system, saying, yeah, we're going to develop, we're going to earn our keep, we'll be freshmen, sit on the bench, we'll be sophomores, maybe we'll get some plays, we'll be juniors, we'll be in the 2 deep, and then seniors, we're the star. That's how you theoretically think it's going to go down, right? If you're being patient. Most of these freshmen show up on campus and say, yo, I'm in the 2 deep. I can contribute right now. I was getting ready for this show. I had a parent jump in my show. Parent jumped in my TikTok chat, said, Rico, we're sending our son to EMU so he can start this year. We think he's going to get on the field this year. I'm like, damn. Going to EMU, Eastern Michigan, out of Florida. I know who the kid is. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I know who your son is. I started thinking, you do know they're getting a transfer, right? These coaches don't care who they recruited. They don't care about their promises. They got one job, get the best 85 together. So when I tell you it's a terrible transfer, it's terrible for the kid, not the school. The school's doing just fine. The coaching staff is doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Go find the best 85 guys. Get the depth on your team you need. Get a guy to show up and sit the bench. Who cares? Look at that. Indiana's got 5 running backs to choose from. It's a good problem to have for Indiana, not for those individual players. And I'm an advocate for players and coaches, not the colors. I don't give a shit what jersey you wear. If you're a fan of a team, you are a fan of colors in a city, bro. You're a fan of threads and colors. Like, ain't no big thing to it. You don't care about the kids in that uniform. Because if they transfer from your school, you're talking shit. And you're saying we don't care about that kid anymore. I've seen it. I've seen it time and time again. Logan Diggs. How many of you LSU fans are cheering for Logan Diggs? Because he just transferred to Ole Miss. How about Notre Dame fans? Because he was there too. None of you are fans of the player. You're fans of some colors. Think about that for a second. On a literal basis, on a literal term, you're fans of colors. That's it. Man, I like whoever wears these colors on Saturday. Ain't shit else to it. And I think it's terrible because I'm a fan of the players. So when you hear me assess certain moves and I go, well, that's not a good move. It's because I'm talking about the player, not the coach, not the team. The team's doing whatever they got to do to get the best players in the room. Coach looks at you and says, man, you're better than my third string running back. We want you. You think you're going there to start and see the field. Jalen Lucas, that little dude, man, when you hear him, I watched an interview with that guy today. I watch interviews with every one of these players. I study every signing. I try to understand their mindset. And I heard Jalen Lucas, and he's like, I'm going to be a weapon. I'm going to be utilized on offense and special teams and all this. I'm thinking, bruh, did you study anything? You were at Indiana, and you were third string running back at Indiana. How the hell are you going to an undefeated ACC champion FSU? What are you drinking? I can't say he's drinking Kool-Aid. That's racist. But don't drink the Kool-Aid. That's not racist. Just FYI. Maurice Turner, I better not see him in the portal, bro, because I'm going to do an I Am Right video. Maurice Turner is a good running back at Louisville. They don't care. They keep bringing in other running backs. If they believed in Maurice Turner, they would stop bringing in running backs. Shout out to Colorado. They believe in their running backs. Stop bringing in other running backs. Look at the transfer portal. They signed all kinds of players. They're not bringing in other running backs. They love their running back room. Just saying. They might do it after spring ball, after they see who's not good and who is. But right now, didn't bring them in. Start paying attention. Start paying attention. When coaches bring in players for your position group, it's disrespect to you, bruh. You ever been dating somebody and they're like, yeah, I like you. I want to be with you. And then you see them on their phone. What's the app you see on their phone? They got a dating app on their phone where you see Tinder and Bumble? Disrespect to you. Keeping it real. That ain't going to work. That relationship ain't going to last. This relationship just ain't going to last, girl. Okay, never mind. Marcus Carroll, talked about him on episode 1. Jaquavius Marks, Woody, talked about him on episode 2. Now we're at Dante Dowdle. Dante Dowdle leaving Oregon, going to Nebraska, 6'2", 215 pounds, 3 years of eligibility left. The running back room at Nebraska is scarce. They've had a tremendous amount of academic issues. They lost a ton of players to the transfer portal over the last 2 years now. And you get a guy like Dante Dowdle, and you think, oh, wow, he's huge. He went to Oregon. He rushed for 5,300 yards in high school, 65 touchdowns. I go turn on the tape. Let me tell you guys something. I turn on the tape on Dante Dowdle, and I go, oh, he's fast. He's fat. That kid looks fast. He's outrunning everybody. He's huge, and he's outrunning everybody. How did he not get on the field at Oregon? That's right. Oregon's running back room is loaded. What's going on here? So I go look again, and I go, oh, never mind. He plays high school ball in Mississippi. Do I have to tell you guys, every single day of my life, I will. If I have to tell you guys every single day, I will. Mississippi high school football is terrible. Don't let them gas you. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And I get it, guys. I do high school film reviews. I watch high school tape every single day. More than any human being can possibly watch high school tape. I got it beat. I got coaches beat. I got recruiters beat. I promise. I'm awake longer than they are. I work longer than they do. I watch high school tape. And when I get to Mississippi tape, the players always look great. You know why? Because for whatever reason in Mississippi, every single high school has a football team. And it could be the smallest high school. It could be the smallest team, and they're just not good. They're terrible. I'm watching Gatorade, National Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Mississippi. One of their quarterbacks the other year. It was Keys. I went back and watched all his tape. Put up insane numbers. Dude couldn't play at Southern Miss. There are so many players in Mississippi, just inflated stats because of how terrible the teams are. So I'm trying to understand Dante Dowdle, and I want to believe in this young man because he's big and strong, and he looks the part. He's got all the stats, 2,100 yards his senior year. And then I went and turned on his track information. I went and clicked on his track information. Let me tell you what he ran in the 200 meters. He ran a 24.55 and a 24.52. His sophomore year, 24.52. He got a little slower, 24.55. 24-second 200 meters. Guys, that is a girl's time. That is a female's time. 24 seconds. His long jump was 19 feet. That is a female's long jump. You don't put the long jump on there if it's under 20 feet. It's the rules. This guy, if I was in high school, I'm dusting him, bro. I was a track athlete. I was a free safety, I know. But I'm dusting him. This guy's slower than snail snot. I don't care what it looks like on the tape. Those numbers tell me he ain't it. This guy's dragging a U-Haul when he's running. Unhitch the boat, bro. I hope he plays well. I hope he's a big back. He's not big enough. To be that slow, he should be 250 pounds. 6'2", 250. Brandon Jacobs. Give me somebody 250. Dante Dowdle, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And I'm sure the Oregon players and coaching staff saw it at practice every day. I'm sure he saw it. And he still went to Nebraska. So go figure. It is what it is. Next guy, Jaquinton Jackson. Now, totally different. Jaquinton Jackson's even bigger than Dante Dowdle. Jaquinton Jackson's 6'2", 230 right now. Former quarterback. Played at Duncanville in high school. Junior year, 15-1. Only lost to North Shore in the title game. Senior year, this guy's all-state. 3-time all-district MVP. Jaquinton Jackson is the guy who can rush for 1,000 yards, throw for 2,000. He was the dual threat quarterback. Now, injuries, went to Texas, got injured, done for the whole year, transfers to Utah, understands real quick, there's a dude named Cam Rising here. I'm not beating out Cam Rising. But coaches saw his ability to run, said, hey, our running back room's beat up. Michael Bernard's hurt. Some of these other guys are hurt. We need you to play running back. So in 2022, he shows up and starts playing running back. And, man, we get excited. 531 yards and 9 touchdowns in limited time as the running back. So they said, the hell with it, man. We got Cam Rising. You're going to be the running back from now on. And he dominated USC in the Pac-12 championship back in 22. And then this past season, 797 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's regression, by the way, because that's a full season, and he regressed. And he's injury prone, and he gets nicked up. Big, strong dude, though. Good runner. Like the way he runs. I don't know what he's going to do. Now, he's going to Arkansas. Arkansas just lost their top 2 running backs. Rocket Sanders obviously left, going to South Carolina. And then the other running back was A.J. Green. Initially, A.J. Green was going back home to Tulsa. Then obviously he got that phone call or that text, and now he's headed to Oklahoma State to be that 1-2 punch with Ollie Gordon. A.J. Green's stupid fast. So now you got Arkansas. I think DeBingen's still there. Rashad DeBingen, the guy from where did he play? Played here in Georgia. Cedar Grove, star running back in Georgia. And so you still got DeBingen, and now you got DeQuinton Jackson showing up. You lost KJ Jefferson, you get a KJ Jefferson clone. But Jackson's not playing quarterback. I wish he would. I wish he would. But he's going to play running back. I hope he plays well. I hope he's healthy. It's a good get for Arkansas, but I want to say something about Arkansas. When I look at Arkansas and their transfer portal additions for the last 2 years now, their recruiting decisions for the last couple years, I see a team that doesn't assess talent properly. And this is no shade at anybody. It's just an observation. They tend to get the players that I look at and I go, oh, that guy's a B. Like, here's the A-plus players. Here's the A's. Oh, there's a B. For whatever reason, he's just a B. Limited ceiling, whatever it is. I'm going to tell you a good quarterback. A kid named Malachi Singleton. Love Malachi Singleton. In high school, went to North Cobb. Had a bunch of good receivers for a while. And but Malachi Singleton, as a sophomore, was so physically advanced that you could just see it. He was a dual threat running back in Georgia, and you just saw this kid and you go, man, that guy's going to be amazing. He's only 3 stars. That guy should be 5 stars. And then he stayed at 3 stars because everybody caught up to him physically. He was 6'2", 220 as a sophomore. His senior, he's 6'1", 225. He shrunk an inch or something. I don't know. And he's at Arkansas. And that's a quarterback they signed. They're still looking for other quarterbacks. They have no intention of playing that kid. They just recruited him. They're recruiting players that they have no intention of playing. That's what I've noticed. They're just going to replace them with transfers that they find. They're not assessing talent properly if you're recruiting guys with no intention of putting them in your 2 deep. And I keep seeing it over and over and over. Arkansas's got a problem. I think they fire their coach and then you just, you fire Pittman and you start all over. Why not? Next on the list, I already talked about Raleek Brown in episode 2. Kadarius Callaway. This is probably the most egregious ranking error I've seen on 24/7 Sports. They gave him 4 stars. This is absurd. Kadarius Callaway, the leading rusher at ODU this season, but not by a wide margin. He rushed for 600 yards, guys. He's not great. The reason they keep him up here like this is because he was initially an Alabama signee. So he went from Alabama to ODU. Now he's going to Cal. Nothing about this kid says he's great. You can look at his stats. You can look at his seasonal stats, and you're going to see 7 yards a carry and think, oh, my goodness. 7 yards a carry, 623 yards in 9 games? He's a stud. No, he's not. Turn on the tape. 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You know what's carrying that 7 yards a carry? He had a game against Marshall where he rushed for 236 yards on 11 carries. Marshall's terrible against the run. And they let that guy run all over him, 11 carries, 236 yards. That's a third of his season's yards in one game. Then he tore up Southern Miss. Is that what I'm supposed to be impressed with? Southern Miss, Marshall? Come on, bro. Look at what he did in his last 3 games of the season. Go look it up. The dude didn't get over 40 yards in any game. He was getting 30 yards a game. I know because I told MVPs to bet on him to get his over yards. And he didn't. We missed because he is not great. 4 stars, my ass. 4 stars, not it. Not when I can look down here at 1,000-yard rushers. 1,000-yard rushers. Say Bangor is a 1,000-yard rusher. Literally done it before. This kid has done nothing of the sort, and they still keep ranking him 4 stars. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's egregious, bro. Just keeping it real. Oh, by the way, Kadarius Callaway, Philadelphia, Mississippi. Another Mississippi kid. Got all his stats against nobody. Real talk. Logan Diggs, good running back. Good running back. He's proved it. He's been in 2 different programs now. Was at LSU. Obviously was at Notre Dame before that. Second leading rusher at Notre Dame. Leading rusher at LSU. Well, second leading rusher behind the Heisman Trophy winner. But Logan Diggs got better. He's rushed for over 1,700 yards in his college career. 5 yards a carry the whole time against top-notch competition. Going to Ole Miss, going to link up with Bentley and see what's cracking. Obviously, he's not Quinshon Judkins. This is a consolation prize for Ole Miss, but they found the best they could at the time once the portal opened. This is a kid from Louisiana, so he's leaving his home state. But Mississippi's not all that far, bro. I'm sure his whole family's going to make it to the games. He's a good player. He was starting to get phased out at LSU. Was starting not to get as many carries late in the season. The bowl game, 1 carry, 1 yard. Before that, less than 10 carries each game for like the last month. It's crazy. Talked about Sam Franklin in episode 1. Talked about Mario Anderson in episode 2. Bangora 2. All the way, I'm going to go all the way down to Jonah Coleman. Everybody's in episode 2 here. Jonah Coleman, we talked about him a little earlier. This is a running back. Went to Arizona after they were terrible. I think they won 1 game. 1-11 one year. And then the recruiting class, they got Jonah Coleman. This is before they got all them great players from Servite. This is before they got Noah Fafita and T-Mac and Manu and all them. Jonah Coleman was first. So the reason Jonah Coleman's able to follow Jed Fish is they have a deeper relationship than you think. I'm going to go with my coach, man. I'm loyal to him. Now, Jonah Coleman, 5'9", 225. Straight out of Northern California. 4-star kid. I think he's a 4-star. They keep giving him 3 stars. This is embarrassing. Jonah Coleman's him. It's a kid out of high school, junior year, 1,600 yards, 31 touchdowns. 31 touchdowns. But I think he's got weight issues. I think he's gaining weight every offseason, and he's fighting consistency and discipline with his weight. 5'9", 225. What if I tell you in the future I think Jonah Coleman's a 240-pound running back, which is not good. He can cut, though. He can cut at full speed. There are different types of running backs. I talk about it all the time. There are multi-cut running backs, and there are single-cut running backs. I can't see your questions here on TikTok. I apologize, Rico Mix. I see it down there, but I never look down here, and when I'm answering questions, it's got to be on YouTube. I apologize. But I'm telling you, this guy is a one-cut running back, not a multi-cut running back, one-cut running back, and he's a stud. Jonah Coleman, fun to watch, NFL running back. Love it, love it, love it. Episode 1 for Trayshawn Ward. Episode 2 for Donald Chaney. Already talked about him, the famous fumble. Ayo Adehi, the most underrated running back in the portal, period. Ayo Adehi leaving North Texas, going to JMU. This is a young man who averaged 7.1 yards per carry, 7.2 yards per carry in back-to-back seasons. First, 2 years ago, he had 807 yards rushing. This last year, 1,017 yards rushing. Here's what you don't know. He's only 5'7", and he started the season third string. Third string, they weren't giving him the rock. They benched him. He was on the bench. He's just a little guy. They put him in the rotation a little bit. It wasn't until the third game of the season he got in there. He rushed for over 100 yards. Coaches kind of looked around and said, yo, what are we doing? This kid is him. And then he had 7 100-yard games this year. Could have had 10, but they didn't play him the first 3 games. It's crazy. They didn't play him at all. Like, he getting very minimal carries. He was sitting the bench to this guy up here. Where is he at? Oh, he's enrolled, huh? Oscar Attaway? Yeah, Attaway's already enrolled, so he's not on this list. But Oscar Attaway going to South Carolina, you go and recruit Attaway because you're like, oh, he's the better running back. No. Ayo Ade, he took his spot. Ayo Ade, he took all the carries. And now he's going to JMU. I'm excited for him. Small guy, but I think he's got NFL talent. I think he's an amazing runner. Another small guy that's an amazing runner is Nate Noel. This is the young man, 541 carries, never fumbled once. He'll be backing up Marcus Carroll. Love Nate Noel from Northwestern High School in Miami. Been playing 4 years. Good running back, man. Over 3,000 rushing yards in his career. What are we doing? This is a good player. One of the best, just not the bell cow back. Not the guy that's going to carry it 20, 30 times a game. He just likes to be in there sporadically. 800 yards this last season, 834. That's the kind of guy he is. But he's good, man. Evan Pryor, talked about him on episode 1. Hankerson, episode 1. Reggie Love, episode 2. It just repeated because their programming sucks. And before I get to Wee Walker, I already talked about on episode 2. And before I get to Dylan Smothers, I'm going to go back to the chat. You guys got any questions? Let's go. Give me a second here. So, with the chat, sometimes it moves when it doesn't move for you guys. It moves for me, vice versa. So, if I'm reading a question and it's not there, I apologize. It'll be there shortly. Sorry, Rico, just curious. Love your content. Rico, trying to learn more. Got it. What do you think about the Ole Miss running back room? Well, I think the Ole Miss running back room took a huge hit, losing Quinshon Judkins. But you cannot have an embarrassment of riches like that. Judkins and Bentley being there. Bentley, a former 900-yard rusher out of SMU initially. When he transferred in, I was really surprised he sat the bench. Another issue is Jam Griffin left. He went back to Oregon State. So there's a depth issue there. But you bring in Logan Diggs, he's a known commodity, you'll be fine. I think Ole Miss's passing attack is going to carry them this upcoming season. Cleveland Harris, a.k.a. Trey Harris III, is the real deal. And Jackson Dart can just game, right? Jackson Dart's just a baller. He's one of my Heisman hopefuls. So I really like where Ole Miss is going to be. I don't think the running back room is going to make or break them. You're surprised Judkins didn't get a 5-star? Yeah, those recruiting sites are pathetic. Absolutely pathetic and lazy. And they wouldn't give him 5 stars because he didn't commit to an SEC school. How you like that for conspiracy theory? Freshman Dante Dowdle did play 6 games. He ran for a 90-yard touchdown real slow. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Go Big Red. Yeah, Mike. Remember that. Remember that, Mike. Mike is a Nebraska fan, by the way, guys. He is out of touch with reality. He's convinced they're in the national championship picture in the playoffs. Thoughts on Ja'Cory McCroskey-Merritt? He might be joining Jonah Coleman at Washington. Very good running back. McCroskey-Merritt did not belong at New Mexico. Good player. I like everything about him. He looks good on tape. Strong runner. So that would be pretty cool. Yep, he's a big time get in the portal right now. With what's left, I'd say he's pretty elite compared to the rest. What happened to Baylor last year? A couple things. I think Baylor is kind of riding out their time with Aranda. I think they're kind of over the message and what they're doing there. When you have somebody, and I'm going to talk about it here in a little bit when I get to they had a running back leave. Who was it? Let me double check my notes here. I'm going to talk about it when I get to Quaylon Jones. Quaylon Jones leaving. But the reality is you kind of alienated your running back room. Now, Shapen's not good enough to win games. They knew that. So they went out and got Braden Locke. They went out and got RJ Martinez from NAU. They still went with Shapen. He's still the best in the room, so they let him start. But he's not good enough to carry. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to carry with your running back. And you had a guy, man. Richard Reese. That was your guy. 972 yards as a freshman. I think it was 14 touchdowns. And what happens? You hit the transfer portal, and you bring in Dominic Richardson. Why? What was the point of bringing in Dominic Richardson, the leading rusher from Oklahoma State? You brought in Dominic Richardson, and it ruined the locker room. It ruined that running back room. And I don't think they really know what they're doing with the running back room. So now Dominic Richardson comes in, doesn't play well. He really doesn't. Not well enough. Not the way Richard Reese did. And then you take Reese going from 972 down to 300 yards. 14 touchdowns. Reese only scored 2 touchdowns this year. Now you have a disgruntled sophomore running back. And the nerve of these coaches. They went out and got Dawson Pendergrass, big white dude. Great stuff. 6'2", 220. And you start giving him carries. 79 carries, 338 yards, 5 touchdowns. He looks like a Mike Allstott. He looks great. But that's why Jones left. Quallen Jones leaves and goes to Stephen F. Austin. You ruin the relationships with your running backs. And I'm going to tell you guys something. Baylor's trying to sign more. Baylor doesn't like Richard Reese, an almost 1,000-yard rusher as a freshman. They keep trying to bring in other running backs. I know this because the running backs came out and reached out to me. How you like them apples? I got a guy not in the transfer portal telling me, hey, Baylor reached out to me. One of their general assistants shot me a message and said, if I jumped in the portal, they would be interested in me. He's a group of 5 guy. He rushed for over 1,000 yards. I don't like the way Baylor's carrying themselves right now. I think it's unprofessional. I think they're in violation of a ton of things. And if they're willing to recruit running backs illegally, and they're willing to conduct themselves like this, what else are they willing to do? How else are they conducting themselves in other position groups, in other decision-making meetings? Baylor has no morals. Anytime a player comes to me for advice or asks me where they should go, and I get that every single day, by the way. Every single day, a player asks me for advice. A player in the portal asked me to help them with their stuff. So much so, I even have been reaching out to coaches here's my DMs, and I've been trying to find, here's one. I'm reaching out to Aaron Dobson right here. Oh, you guys can't see it on the chat. My bad. I'll show it to you. It's my bad. Here I am reaching out to Marshall, wide receiver coach. Right here, Aaron Dobson, asking him, bro, hey, I got a guy in the transfer portal asking me to, and I'm reaching out on his behalf. It's not the first time I've done this. I've been doing it a lot. I've been trying to help these kids because these coaching staffs are vultures. Some of them are conducting themselves inappropriately. And I think Baylor's in that suit. So the product you see from Baylor on the field doesn't surprise me. That's the way they're carrying themselves. It is what it is. I think they're all going to be fired soon. I hate to say it. Do I really hate to say it? I hate to inform you. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. Yep, Reese was great his freshman year. Exactly, D-Sub. What percentage of schools do you think are reaching out to kids not in the portal? I'll tell you one school that's not doing it. SMU. Shout out to them, SMU. I reached out to SMU and I said, hey, I'm speaking to you on behalf of certain players interested in going to your school. And SMU said to me, Mr. Rico, tell the player to jump in the portal. We don't pre-portal anyone. I said, okay. He said, yeah, man, just tell him to jump in the portal. We're not going to pre-portal anyone. We're not going to have this discussion. I said, look, man, I just need to know if this guy jumped in the portal, what would you say? How would you feel about it? Would you be interested? He said, Mr. Rico, just have him jump in, bro. Just have him jump. I said, all right, man, no problem. I'm not even trying to do it. Yeah, I appreciated their honesty, their integrity. And it's not like we were doing anything wrong. You're talking to me, not the player. Right? And here's the proof. Here's the DM right here. And he said, I appreciate what you're trying to do, helping these athletes out. Our program, we don't pre-portal players. If that player is interested in our program, once they officially enter the portal, encourage him to reach out to us, and we can have that conversation. Shout out to Coach. Shout out to Coach. And this is just me keeping it real with you guys. When you don't hear from me all day, I am grinding on behalf of the players in the transfer portal, advocating on their behalf to coaching staffs. I have currently about 5 or 6 guys I do it for right now. Try not to juggle too many at a time. I got a lot of stuff to do in a day. I got to make high school film reviews, get ready for a podcast, help players in the portal, keep track of all the newest news, all the moves. Where does my life exist, bro? How do I breathe? How do I eat? How do I sleep? Oh, and then give picks for UFC fights and give picks for other games and study this and study. It's insane. It cannot be done by one person. Yet here I am. And nobody knows that I'm doing it. Nobody's paying attention. I'm talking to 17 people right now. A total of 22 people. But I don't care because I know one day it's going to be more. That's what I know. And I believe in that dream. Let me get back to this list so we're not here all night. Let's go. We're at the running back list. We're now on Dalen Smothers leaving Oklahoma, going to North Carolina State. Dalen Smothers, he was at Oklahoma this last year. Didn't play. I think this is a bad transfer. Red flag transfer. It's a lateral transfer. You couldn't play at Oklahoma. You can't play at NC State. Now, NC State, shout out to them. They need to find running backs. They need to get some depth back in their room. Delbert Mims just left to Eastern Michigan. They lost a couple other running backs over the last couple years, and their running back room is hurting. Their leading rusher was Armstrong, the quarterback. So they're trying to find guys. This is a kid from West Charlotte. He's from North Carolina, so he's coming home. His high school tape is filled with these runs where he's got great vision. I love it. He's got great vision. But they call him Dalen Hollywood Smothers. He lacks that home run hit speed. But I still like the film. I still thought he had good vision. I think he's a good player. I just don't see him starting at you go sit the bench at North Carolina State too. Just the way you were at Oklahoma. At least you're closer to home. Could have went to Charlotte, but don't go to Charlotte if you're a running back. Let me just I'll leave it at that. We're going to get to it in a little bit. It's one of the things I'm going to end with. So Darwin Barlow here. Darwin Barlow, another guy out of touch with reality, continuously transferring to major universities where he has no business being at. It's just the reality of the situation. Played small high school football, 3A in Texas. So he played 3A football in Texas straight out of Newton. And he was the 3A player of the year. All state, one state, blah, blah, blah. Went to TCU. 2 years. Wasn't doing much at TCU. Transfers to USC? What? Why? What are you doing? I don't get it. Can't get on the field. Technically, your third string, I guess. He could have went to North Texas, UTSA, Tulsa, been all over the field. But instead, he just keeps going to major universities and sitting the bench. It's nuts. Somebody over-evaluated this. This guy has the wrong understanding of what it is to be a college football player. I think they just want to be on a team, bro. He never wants to get a carry. He don't want to be the guy. He doesn't want to carry the load. He's not built like that. Just real. Chance Williams leaving Grambling. That's not Georgia. That's Grambling State. Shout out to him. Leaving Grambling State. I believe they fired their coach, right, Hugh? They fired their coach, if I remember correctly. And now he's going to Cincinnati. Good running back, man. Straight out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Looks fast on tape. Looks like a fast running back. Remember, they signed Pryor. It was up here before, Evan Pryor. The other running back for Cincinnati right there from Ohio State. Evan Pryor is a much bigger, slower guy. This looks like a speed back, change of pace back. So I like the move. Shout out to Chance Williams getting a shot coming up from the FCS. Do your thing. He just had 890 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns. I think he was the second leading rusher on the team, though, if I remember correctly. But still, looks like a fast kid. Good get. Shout out to Satterfield, who most people don't want to go play for. Hey, we got an error. Shout out to 24/7 Sports. Rodney Hill is not committed to FAMU. Somebody should let them know. He flipped to Miami. They don't care. Talked about that on episode 2, by the way. Marcus Major and Jordan Houston are the next 2 guys. Marcus Major leaving Oklahoma, going up to Minnesota. Doesn't make sense to me. I don't think he'll play at Minnesota. You couldn't play at Oklahoma. You're not going to play up there. Right? In 5 seasons, he had 833 yards. I know. Rico, it's Oklahoma. They got good running backs. He's a good player. No. Minnesota has good running backs. Darius Taylor, true freshman, stud. Absolute stud. As long as he stays healthy, Darius Taylor's the starter. Say Bangura just transferred in. That's a 1,000-yard rusher, straight out of DeMatha Catholic, straight out of Baltimore. Been dominating the MAC. You're talking about 2 running backs worth a damn. And then Jordan Newbin's good. Now, is Marcus Major going to compete with Jordan Newbin? Sure. But he's not Say Bangura. He is not Darius Taylor. I don't understand the transfer at all. Don't get it. Shout out to PJ Fleck for convincing these kids to show up for their final year. But unless you want to be a part of a 3 running back room, Marcus Major just made a terrible decision. He could have just went to Tulsa, bro. But he's from Oklahoma City. He's from Millwood. He could have just went to Tulsa and got some playing time. But these guys got too much pride. I'm going to go to another Power 5 school. I'm going to go to a Power 4 school. It's a terrible move. I'm telling you, there's good running backs in Minnesota, and he's not going to be better than them. Jordan Houston, leaving NC State, going to Marshall. This kid wants to be Rasheen Ali. I'm telling you right now, this kid wants to be Rasheen Ali, and I don't blame him, but I don't think he's Rasheen Ali. Now, I watched his tape. He looks good. He redshirted this year. He said, nah, they're not using running backs correctly at NC State. They're not using me. I'm out of here. They call him the cheat code, by the way. 5,000 yards in high school. He's a one-cut runner, and he jump cuts. He's nice. He'll make you miss. 5'9", 180. I'm excited to see what he can do at Marshall. I really am. Let's see what happens. If he's the starter, if he's in the 2 deep, Jordan Houston is not a liability when he gets the ball. Promise. By the way, Amani Goodwin, congrats. 0 carries at LSU. Congrats on wasting a couple years over there. Already talked about them in episode 2. Now we're at George Pettaway. George Pettaway was supposed to be this great running back, former 4-star. You see it here. They still have him at 4 stars because that was his high school rating. Yeah, you guys all missed. You got it all wrong. He's going to JMU. I got news for you. I'm calling it now. Ayo Adehi, the 3-star, is going to beat this guy. Going to beat him out. Because Ayo Adehi is a real running back. Coaching staff might not believe it at first. They're going to get to practice and be like, we got George Pettaway, bro. He looks so good. He's not built like that. I watched this kid. Watched all his tape. No. 20 carries, 93 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's it. He doesn't look like a natural runner on tape. If he sent me $40 and said, Mr. Rico, would you please make a video for me and tell me what you think of me? I would say you don't look like a natural runner, bro. You look like a backup runner in the group of 5. You're fast. He got a ton of yards coming out of high school. They all anointed him and said he's great. And his boy got humbled. And wait till Ayo Adehi puts it on him at JMU. I'm sure they're going to be the 1-2 punch. I'm sure. It'll be sad. It's crazy, bro. Worst transfer running back out there, Trey Bradford. Shouldn't be in college. He's been kicked out of university multiple times. This guy should not be in college. Shout out to North Texas. We're back on Jam Griffin here. The other guys have all been on episode 2. Jam Griffin, straight out of Rome, Georgia. One of the best high school running backs in the history of Georgia. Unfortunately, he went to Georgia Tech, couldn't get in the starting lineup. Eventually transferred to Oregon State. Was a rotational running back, 3rd best running back on the team if you remember Deshaun Fenwick and obviously Martinez breaking out. And you're like, all right, what is he going to do? Well, he can be part of the best running back room in America, or he can transfer. And he decided to transfer. So he went to Ole Miss, and he joined the best running back room in America. Guess what? They didn't need you. They didn't need you at all. So it was a dumb transfer. It was a late transfer in the year. It was right before the season started. It had to be a money grab. It wasn't good. And now he's back in the portal and he's going back to Oregon State. But this is a guy who went to Ole Miss. Why would you lose a whole year chasing that short money, only rushing for 39 yards? And now what? Now you got to go back to Oregon State, go to a coaching staff you're familiar with, whoever's left, and you're going to go back up Damon Martinez. Like, what are we doing? I'll never understand how these guys make these moves. Who's talking to them? This guy could have went to South Alabama, could have went to Troy, and been in that damn room, and been in that rotation, and been dependent upon. Could have had a 500-600 yard rushing performance, but instead, 39 yards, and you leave. It's bad. Patrick Garwu, talking about Patrick Garwood leaving Boston College, going to Nevada. This is a great get for Nevada. It's so good that I was like, who's Nevada's new running backs coach? Oh, no, that was Eli. I'm sorry. I was talking about New Mexico. Nevada, it's still a great pickup. Nevada, it's a great pickup. This is a former starting running back at Boston College. Like in 2023, Garwood was the starting running back. He just got hurt. He's a good player, as if he can stay healthy. But, things go wrong. You need a new beginning. You need new surrounding. But this was the top running back coming out of Pennsylvania when he was coming out of high school, and he didn't let anybody down. His junior year, 1,800 yards rushing. Senior year, 1,900 yards rushing. He was good. He just has to be healthy. And he's been in college a long time. I hope Nevada can do something with him. They have Sean Dollars, the transfer from Oregon last year. He's okay. He's not the same, right? That's the modern-day kid. But this young man, 5'9", 210, little packs a punch. Boston College starter. This is a Power 5 starter running back now at Nevada. Doesn't hurt to get him. Good luck. He looks good on tape, by the way. He's just running through arm tackles, running through everything. Eli Sanders, second leading rusher out of Iowa State, decided, you know what, man, I'm tired of playing with you guys. I'm out this joint. I need more carries. Cartavius Norton left Iowa State. He went to Charlotte. And Eli Sanders said, well, I'll do you one better. I'm going to go to New Mexico. So I'm like, man, why is he going to New Mexico? Obviously, Bronco Mendenhall is the new head coach. And the running backs coach is Kirk Garner. They've been together for 6 years, by the way, Mendenhall and Kirk Garner. And I just thought, man, this is crazy. Shout out to Kirk Garner, man. You got yourself a good running back. Iowa State kind of made a mistake, if you ask me. Abu Sama. Abu Sama is the running back they gave the starting job to, and they picked him over everybody, and he stunk it up in the bowl game, and I knew he would. The only reason Abu Sama even won the job over all these other good running backs, like Cartavius Norton right here, you see Cartavius Norton and Eli Sanders, the only reason Abu Sama even won the job is because it was snowing against K-State, I think. K-State? It was snowing like crazy, and he went and rushed for 276 yards on 16 carries. 16 carries, 276, and 3 touchdowns. Let me tell you guys, he was the only guy that could run in the snow. Everybody else was slipping and sliding. One dude had the right cleats on. It would be like if you went swimming with your friends, and none of them could swim, but you're the best swimmer. Does that mean you're a good swimmer? No, it means you're the only one who could do it. Abu Sama is not a good running back. They just picked him because he ran the best in the snow that day. And once they made him the starter and went, wow, he almost rushed for 300 yards. He's our new guy. He's our Marshall Faulk. Once they anointed him, everybody else left. And I think Iowa State lost some good running backs. Cartavius Norton's good. Go turn on the tape. He's good. Ask Biff Poggi. Shout out to Eli, though, doing his thing. I'm going to talk about, I think, 3 or more running backs, 4, 5. Let's go 5 more. And then we'll call it a day. I'm checking my list here. Checking my list. Checking it twice. I'm just making sure I've already talked about some of these guys. So Micah Kelly, talked about him in episode 2. Bryce Duke, out of Virginia Tech, going to ODU. Thanks for adding depth to the room. But Bryce Duke's high school tape looks good. He looks very strong. Got to Virginia Tech, couldn't really run much. And they knew that. They knew he had a ceiling. And what I mean is he looks like he just is overdeveloped compared to everybody else his age. I can remember growing up, I used to see this running back. His name was Josh Salas. And he looked older than the other running backs. He just looked older than everybody. He's more developed. So that leaves you with a ceiling. You've already reached your peak, and you don't get any better. There's no potential there. You know what I'm saying? So he just doesn't quite have the ceiling you're looking for. His floor is pretty high. He's good. He's just not going to ever be great. And when you start looking at a Virginia Tech running back room who went out and recruited and signed Byshal Tutton out of the transfer portal, they're like, hey, bro, we don't care who you are. We're going to go sign somebody, and Tutton's coming back. At that point, Bryce, he says, man, I got to go. So Duke's jumped in. He's going to ODU. I see him as a rotational guy at ODU. That's it. Real talk. Next guy, Bryce Drew, Cartavius Norton's on episode 2. CJ Stokes was at Michigan, going to Charlotte. Shout out to Biff Poggi. CJ Stokes, he's from South Carolina, so he's coming back closer to home. Close enough to drive. Let me tell you that. It ain't that far. About a 3-hour drive every day to Charlotte. I'm going to tell you that Not even a 3-hour drive. 3-hour drive for me. It's like a 1-hour drive from Columbia to Charlotte. I think he looks good. Back in 2022, Stokes looked like he was going to be the guy. He looked like he was the third running back on the team. And then this past year, he took a step back. But that first year, his freshman year, 53 carries, 273 yards, and a touchdown, it looked like he was going to be the guy. And then something just went wrong. And sometimes that happens at major universities. You fall out of favor with the coaching staff. You probably didn't work as hard in the offseason. Some other guys pass you on the depth chart. And it's a dog-eat-dog world, man. There's better running backs. There's better players. You're at Michigan, for crying out loud. So going home, going to Charlotte, I already told you guys, I don't wish Charlotte's running back room on anybody. Let me explain. I'll pull it up. How about that? I'll pull it up and show you guys on the screen why I have an issue with Charlotte. And you won't see this anywhere else in America. I've studied 133 teams. You will not see this on any team's stat sheet. Charlotte running backs. Do you see it here? They have 6 different running backs. Their leading rusher was a quarterback, number 1. Then they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs over 100 yards. They're running everybody. They got the whole running back room getting carries all season. Darrell Robinson, by the way, I'm supposed to be talking about Quillen Jones, but CJ Stokes is going to this. Darrell Robinson, by the way, got all his carries in the first 4 games of the season. Some of these guys redshirted. They just let him play the first 4 games, and then they brought other people in. But the reason I bring this up is I talked to Hassan Wilson. Hassan Wilson's a follower of the channel. He's in my DMs. He reached out to me, and he said, hey, Mr. Rico, what do I need to do to be better? I said, well, you obviously need more carries. Hassan Wilson's a hell of a running back. They're not using him. They don't use him properly. I started going, man, this is your coach's fault. Hassan Williams right here is a hell of a baller. I turned on the tape. I went, whoa. But when you turn on this tape and you look and you see they only played him 3 games this year. 3 games, all in November. And then he had that game against Memphis. 24 carries, 198 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Why are we not relying on Hassan Williams? It's bananas, bro. 198-yard game, and this guy doesn't play but 3 games. I don't know what's going on.
Hey, how's it going?
Turn that off. Almost played a commercial. I don't know what's going on at Charlotte. They're bringing in more running backs. They used 6 of them. They're bringing in more. Biff Poggi, do the damn thing. Quillen Jones leaving Baylor, going to Sam Houston. I got news for, I'm sorry, Stephen F. Austin. I got news for you guys. Not going to be the starting running back at Stephen F. Austin. He's leaving Baylor. Power back, 5'10", 242 pounds. Looks good in his high school tape. Almost great even. But you go to Stephen F. Austin. I was like, man, he's going to Stephen F. Austin. He's going to be the starter. But just for shits and giggles, just to mess around a little bit, let me go find out who's the starting running back at Stephen F. Austin. Let me go look. I went and looked. And I looked at the whole depth chart. As soon as I saw the tape, Jarrell Wembley. Pop. Looks great. Stud running back. Jarrell Wembley is so good that when I went back to watch his high school tape and I started looking up all conference lists, all league lists, all these, he was ahead of, or he was right next to a running back named Ollie Gordon. He was ahead of Jaden Blue, who's at Texas. He was ahead of some of these other guys. I don't know how Jarrell Wembley ended up at the FCS level at Stephen F. Austin. It had to be grades, a late qualifier, something, because that kid is good, and he's been good. So shout out to Quillen Jones. Obviously, I already talked about the whole Baylor running back room and how bad it was. Go over there. Go do your thing. The backup running back to Wembley is Anthony Williams, the transfer from UCF a couple years back. So there's going to be some people there, and he's going to have to earn his keep. But I think he's a good quality player. Like, he once had a good season. Quillen Jones once had a great season. But once you lose your spot to Dawson Pendergrass as the power back, there's nothing else you can do. Shout out to Andre Hines. Going to Wagner on 3 doesn't know about it. He did reach out to me on the channel, talk to him in the DMs. I appreciate him. This is a late addition to the chart. I actually need to add it to my chart because it wasn't there. It just happened while I was doing this. They finally updated it, but it happened 2 days ago. You guys see it there. My boy Deion Hankins. I'm adding it over here, by the way. Deion Hankins going to Texas State. This is crazy. Okay, and the reason this is crazy is, number one, we all know the starting running back at Texas State, if you don't know, is Ishmael Mahdi, 1,300-yard rusher. Friend of the channel. Talk to him as often as I want to, right? And the thing about it is, is the starting running back and the backup running back at UTEP just transferred to the same school. Just transferred to the same school. I kid you not. When you come over here and you look and we scroll down, we got to go down pretty far. But it's okay, sweetie. My dog's pissed because I made the computer make a sound. But when we scroll down on this list, there it is. Torrance Burgess Jr. is going to UTEP, or going to Texas State from UTEP. So Texas State just grabbed the 2-star running backs from UTEP and put them on their team. That's nuts. Because Ishmael Mahdi's still there. These guys did not transfer to be backups. What this tells me, guys, this move right here tells me Ishmael Mahdi will not be at Texas State, and they know it. There's no way around that. This is not a let's build up our depth chart and let's get a bunch of guys in the room. Deion Hankins did not transfer from UTEP to another group of 5 school to start sharing carries with a third running back. He was already sharing carries with Burgess. The both of those guys going to Texas State tells me the coaching staff, DJ Kinney and them boys, are prepared for Ishmael Mahdi to leave, to go to a bigger school, a Power 5 school. That's what that move tells me in my analysis. I'll be right. It'll take the spring because he can't jump in the portal now. I don't think he's a graduate transfer. I'll be right. And then I'll record all this and make an I Am Right video. Shout out to you guys. I am right. I'm RicoKnows. This is what I do. Just letting you know. That move right there, that's what tells me that. Nobody else cares. I do. Shout out to me. Shout out to you. Darrell Robinson leaving Charlotte. I already told you about these Charlotte running backs. Going to UConn. I'm glad they have him listed here twice. Shout out to 24/7. Yeah, he had a relationship with UConn coming out of high school. He was going to go there, or it was one of those finalized things. By the way, go study Charlotte. Their tight ends coach. You know him, Tim Brewster, associate head coach. Just left Colorado. He's the new tight ends coach at Charlotte. He's recruiting like crazy, getting a bunch of people. He's doing as best he can. But he couldn't keep Darrell Robinson on the team. Darrell Robinson wanted to leave. This is a St. Francis running back. Now, Biv Poggi recruited all the St. Francis players that he used to have in his program. He never knew Darrell Robinson. He was not at St. Francis when Robinson was there. So Robinson went there, blind faith, blind trust, in saying, I'm going to go play with Biv Poggi, and it didn't work out. First month, done. No longer in the running back room. No more carries the rest of the season. Redshirted. So he still has 4 years of eligibility left. This is a 6'1", 200-pound kid. Going to get to UConn. Going to pair up with Rosa. Going to see what it's about. I think he's a good player. Congratulations to UConn for getting a quality player. Xavier Coleman, the last guy I'm going to talk about tonight, and then I'll get to the chat and end the show. Xavier Coleman, straight out of Boston College, going to Lamar. Nowhere. He's not even from Lamar. He's from Jersey. He's small on tape, but he looks fast. I want to say his acceleration is a 10. Like, he can accelerate so fast, but his top speed's about a 7. 7. It's weird. He only had 6 carries this year, so he didn't get a lot of playing time. But small guy, 5'7", 180. Little just start and go. Nothing too special, but his top end speed isn't quite there. So those are all the running backs I wanted to talk about tonight. Obviously, there's more. We'll get to them on the next episode, and there'll be more additions and more moves by the time we get to it. I do a different position group every other day, so the next running back episode will probably be in about 2 weeks. There should be a lot of movement by then. Maybe some of these moves that I'm predicting will have happened. We'll see. I'm going to get to the chat one last time, and then we'll end the show. I appreciate everybody for being here. So let's go to the chat. It says, I saw you were talking about, my bad. Let's go back. 2120, Joseph Villalon is here. Shout out to him. He is a Texas homer. In case you guys didn't know, be careful anything he says. Big 12 is trash. This man has been a Big 12 fan for his whole life. Now they're trash because Texas is SEC. Texas is about to win their second straight SEC championship. Joseph Villalon is an ultimate troll. Ryan Harper says, saw you were talking about IU's running back room. Josh Anderson declared for the draft, but the room is still crowded and Howland looks like the best guy. Not sure what the other four are thinking. So I don't think Trent Howland is the best guy out of all four of them. I don't. I hope he's good. I hope he's the best guy. But everybody's thinking the same thing. I'm following a coaching staff that I trust and know. I'm following my running backs coach. I'm following my offensive coordinator and my head coach. There's going to be preferential treatment for sure. I think it's going to be hard for certain players to earn their keep when there's an invested relationship there. I see it all the time, guys. I was in the military for 20 years, over 20 years. We have these issues all the time. Favoritism, kind of nepotism built things, or you just show up and you already have a biased opinion on certain people and they got the in, and there's no way around it. So I hope Trent Howland can prove it and not have to wait till the fall to prove it. What if they tell him, oh, well, when we get in the games, we'll see who we're going to go with the hot hand. I hate when they say that shit. Thoughts on Antoine Littlejohn from Maryland. Shout out to Littlejohn. He just transferred. He'll be in a future episode. My thoughts are he should have left Maryland a little sooner, but he's fine, man. He's a good player. Not as good as everybody makes him out to be. Shout out to all the recruiting websites. But Littlejohn's a quality addition to, any running back room in America. He's fine. He looks good physically. He's a monster. But if you couldn't beat out Hemby and you couldn't be that guy that we needed you to be at Maryland, there's limitations to how great I'll say you are, but he's not a bad player. What up? Bascott Books is back. Shout out to you, Zach, by the way. Thank you for being here. Villalon said he was not ahead of Jadon Blue. Jadon Blue was the number one running back in the nation and sat out his senior year because of COVID or whatever. Dude is not better than Blue. Here we go. I know what I said. I know the research I did. I know what I saw. If I have to make you look silly and prove it, I will. You won't like it, but you're wrong. Thanks for the great content, Rico. Appreciate you, Ben Dehu. I try my best, y'all. I hope you guys enjoy the content. Thank you guys for being here. Remember, your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Don't ever listen to Joseph Villalon, y'all. Stay up. Be safe. Peace.
So watch out, we came with a dog pound, yeah. I gotta get me a bag, steady type of cash on my bro and that same shit. No, I don't fuck on lame bitch, can't even fuck on the same shit. I heard your shit in the swag, that shit is so sad, put in work at that basement. I charge you double that payment, look boy, I'm not one you can play with.
Top 10 running backs. 6A Texas high school football. Top 10 running backs. Let's go find them. There's Ollie Gordon, number 2. There's your boy Wembley, number 4. Scroll all the way to the bottom because there was Zach Evans. We just passed him.